My mother worked her fingers to the bone in a mop-head factory to put me through school. Her only pleasure in life was that Charleston chew from the vending machine at lunchtime. That's why she named me 11H. I did notice her breath was horrific.
That's beyond beer goggling. That's turpentine goggling. I didn't want a fucking refund, you dotty dumpling. I want the chicken cheesesteak that I've been dreaming about all afternoon.
Slide on your silk PJs and grab a Chardonnay. Oh, look, the sea lions are spawning.
It only takes 55 cents to reduce calm, rational human beings to wild-eyed, raving lunatics bashing the bejesus out of a machine, yelling, "Give me my Twix bar, you fuck!"
This is the Snaggletooth Extreme Metal Podcast.
Eight again.
So, I kind of wanted to talk about the house at the end of the street, which sounds like any weird.
The one that was burning
movie.
furniture previously.
It's got all kinds of weirdness at this house. It sits at the end of our street. It's a dead end street. There's no house that sits across from it. Cars come and go rapidly, like there's drug deals going on. Like they just pull up to the curb, a guy walks out of the house, and they speed off.
Mm-hmm.
There's small children. There's a woman who's always seems to be fighting with a man by the body language. You can never hear what they're fighting about, but it's always, him going, ah, ah.
Mm-hmm.
Her runaway pit bull that almost ate Jax.
Yeah.
I had to pick him up.
Scares the hell out of me.
And then we turned around and the dog was on our front porch because our storm door was still open. She told me that they were selling the house and she was tired of chasing the dog and all this stuff.
Yesterday, I was walking the dog and they were furiously burning furniture. Now, Stace and I will burn stuff when we're doing campfire, but they were like standing over the fire, like burn quick.
We actually have a receptacle. It's a pit.
Yeah, this was more like rapid disposal. Very suspicious.
Just on the lawn.
Very suspicious.
I was like, was there a murder here?
That's what it seemed like to me.
Burning evidence.
Who knows?
And they were very intent on burning. This wasn't like how we burn stuff, with a beer and music.
Right. Anyway.
So anyway, yeah, stay tuned. It's coming to a theater near you this summer.
If she's never
at the end of our street.
She may never be seen again. So, vending machines were the world's first self-service device, and they're pretty much guaranteed to malfunction about half the time. It only takes 55 cents to reduce calm, rational human beings to wild-eyed, raving lunatics bashing the bejesus out of a machine, yelling, "Give me my Twix bar, you fuck!"
It's so true. However, I looked into it, and this whole vending machine process was started with the Greeks, as many things do, including stuffed spinach leaves, feta cheese, togas, olive oil, and quite arguably, democracy itself.
Where would we be without stuffed spinach leaves?
But the vending machine that the Greeks invented was not for easy access to unhealthy snacks, sodas, or cigarettes. Instead, it dispensed holy water. Leave it to the church to invent a way to make money off, sacrilege and offerings, and limit those that would take too much if allowed free access. How am I supposed to baptize my whole yak with this little simple holy water?
It's a problem. Yeah. It would be another 1,800 years before Frito-Lay discovered that this was a great way to sell their snacks right in a store or your office with no pricey storefront or employees bitching about health benefits or a lack of air conditioning. Even as a kid, it struck me odd that they had cigarette vending machines in places like the bathroom at Friendly's. But then again, in 1983, what 12-year-old didn't want a couple of Pall Mall 100s with their strawberry ripple cone? It's so soothing, Remember when we were kids and they had those candy machines in the lobby at Kmart? Lemon heads, a big handful, I would say, for a quarter, right? A friend of mine tried sticking his hand up in there and it got stuck. He had to call security. It's weird. He had just turned 26.
At airports, you can get really pricey items from a vending machine, like a laptop or a phone or some high-end cosmetics or, oops, I forgot to bring diapers. It's actually what it says on the vending machine. I never trust that it won't get stuck and I'll just be out a couple of hundred when losing that dollar in the soda machine was enough enragement for one day.
I remember when I used to travel a lot when I was in my old job. I was always in airports, and sometimes I would forget like workout clothes. So I would go over to wherever the apparel shop was, and they would have like these like a pair of like Under Armour Maryland shorts. $88 for a pair of shorts. Great. Sounds like a good price to me. I'm charging it back to the company anyway. Fuck it.
You know, I've seen women at airports, who just bought a Gucci bag and it's stuck and they're ready to pull out a sawzall or the jaws of life to get it out.
Yeah, you can't blame them really.
So also kind of vending machine adjacent are the automats, which is kind of a fusion of a restaurant and a vending machine. It eliminates the wait staff and the pesky wait for your meal selection because you walk up and boom, there it is already made. You just put in your money, pull it out. No word on how this affects picky substitutions, additions, or annoying people who want their food super hot.
We went to a place called 99 Taps. Absolutely blew my mind. No bartenders, no tipping, dozens of IPAs, just 99 taps all around you. Your only weapon was a red plastic cup. See you guys in the emergency room. Japan wins the award for the most bizarre things in vending machines. You can get anything from a banana to a salad, cake in a can, and even live crabs out of a vending machine.
I was reading some statistics that there are actually probably more vending machines than people.
Wow.
In Japan. They're very popular. But I personally love watching those retro movies from the 60s and 70s where the cafeteria is just tables and huge vending machines that say hot food on them. Apparently, we weren't all adverse to MSG and a ton of salt in exchange for a convenience back then. TV dinners all around.
That's what it was, basically.
You'll take a TV dinner, but I take a TV dinner. Once you got stranded, this is true. I got stranded at a very small airport in New York. And I was waiting for my ride, who had already let me know that they would be longer than I thought. But what I didn't understand was once you passed security, there was no food. And they wouldn't let me back through without a boarding pass. So, of course, I was starving, and there was only one of those snacky vending machines. It only took change. So I dug around in my purse and came up with enough for some Cheez-Its. Very salty with no drink. And honestly, it just made me hungrier. I could smell the actual food from the restaurants in the terminal.
Well, listen to this story, right? Okay. So we had this weird woman that did, she was like our receptionist. So she did all the ordering paper clips and buying lunches and stuff like that for us. Well, one time we had this big meeting with all the muckety mucks they were all VPs from around the different global plants, right? They were all visiting. And so she passed around the menu for lunch. It was this amazing restaurant. I was so excited about it, right? I think I picked like a chicken cheesesteak or something. I was dying to have it, right? She didn't realize that the app she used meant it was going to be delivered by a kid on a bike.
Oh my God.
And we're talking lunch for like 12 people, right? Needless to say, the food did not show up, but I just remember it was 12. It was 12:30. It was 12:45. No food. At one point, I looked over, and the VP from Brazil was sharing a pack of saltines that he had found in his luggage with the VP from Norway. They were eating like homeless people. Right. It was just a sad state of affairs. Meanwhile, she's on the phone. I want your supervisor. Let me get your supervisor, right? So finally, she makes the announcement. It's almost 1:00 at this point. She says, "Good news, everyone. I got a refund for the lunch." I didn't want a fucking refund, you dotty dumpling. I want the chicken cheesesteak that I've been dreaming about all afternoon. So the CEO jumped up and out of nowhere produced a tray of Jimmy John's sandwiches, but it just wasn't the same. I just remember such a letdown.
If that had been my office, there would have been a riot. Remember the rep who showed up with lunch, or he had lunch delivered and he picked it, and then lunch was delivered. And then right when the girls went to dig in, he showed up and announced it was wrong and sent it back.
He had to wrestle it out of their fingers.
And then the girls were like, well, where is it? And it's like you said, it probably took another half an hour for whatever he did for her to come.
I wanted to take a picture of the two VPs that looked homeless sharing. To me, that was the height of no accountability. Like, she never got in trouble for that at all. I mean, She had like 8. The salaries in that room were over $1 million. I know, and something as simple as lunch she couldn't get right.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Only guys that had vending machines.
There you go. See, look at that turnaround. So
You know, my mother worked her fingers to the bone in a mop-head factory to put me through school. Her only pleasure in life was that Charleston chew from the vending machine at lunchtime. That's why she named me 11H. It was the slot number.
all right, 11H.
But I think 100% of the time, vending machine coffee is horrible.
Yeah, I agree.
There was a machine in the break room of the department store that I worked in back in the day. Exhausted at Christmas time, I decided, I only had time to run up there for a quick caffeine hit. So I hit black coffee, but it definitely picked up a lot of whoever ordered prior to me, which apparently was a triple Splenda, double creamer, full of chemicals concoction before me. Blech. It was like bug spray. It was horrible, completely undrinkable, and a waste of 40 cents, which is bad when they only paid us $8 an hour back then.
Yeah, the one we had at Towson, it was like a Dixie cup, but you had the mandatory 1/4 inch of grounds in the bottom.
Ugh.
Yeah. Okay, our feature interview this week is with the one and only TJ Childers of the Richmond death metal band Inter Arma. It's a bit of a gush session as we've been longtime fans of TJ for years, an amazing drummer, guitarist, and songwriter. We cover everything from the full history of the band going all the way back to their basement show early days to the making of the spectacular new record, New Heaven. So stay tuned for that. Let's play a song. This is New Heaven. Okay, let's talk about Patreon. The site is patreon.com/Snaggletooth podcast. And for $6.66 a month, you get a mind-numbing amount of Mark and Stace.
So we put up a lot of extras there. Maybe we'll put up more of your teen reviews. That was pretty funny.
They haven't heard it yet. They will.
Yeah, well, you will.
I discovered some reviews I wrote as a teenager. They're pretty entertaining. Yeah, maybe I will stick some of those up.
How do you feel after you spent all your hard-earned money and bought this album that you drove your bike?
Angry. They were very angry reviews.
Oh,
yeah.
So
But seriously, though, I mean, give us a follow. Check us out on Instagram. We're always putting zany stuff up there. Say hi on Facebook. We need your patronage at Patreon because this stuff is expensive. And we like to keep the show going and support the artists that are so integral to Snaggletooth.
Yeah, and you can actually check out on our Instagram page. We live stream quite a bit from Maryland Death Fest. So you can get a little taste of what that was like.
And soon we're going to be live streaming from the Maryland Doom Fest.
Well, that'll be on the Rock and Roll.
On the Rock and Roll
podcast.
show.
But yeah, so hot. But there's people get confused. There's this show and the Rock and Roll show. So yes, Doom will be from there. And in fact, I was on Two Mold's page today. So we will be at that show. So we'll be sure to live stream from that.
Very good. Okay. So a little bit more on exotic vending machines. Go ahead.
So here's a picture of an old vending machine that dispenses insurance.
Explain again how that
This was
works.
very popular when airplane travel was new. People were unsure how safe it was, but yet it was kind of the up and coming thing. So someone decided to play upon the fears of people not sure if this plane was actually going to make it. They would sell you an insurance policy if you happen to die during the flight.
Get an extra $100,000.
Your wife would, get a little
Interesting.
something to pad her woes with.
Wow.
Yeah, it was actually, you could buy it right in the airport.
Such poor taste. Anyway. Yeah.
So how about Nightcrawler?
Yeah.
That's
Yay,
a
live
good idea.
bait. Right out of the machine. Yeah.
This one's almost practical. A tear in the old nylons. Anyone with a cat knows they do this.
Mm-hmm.
But a vending machine to the rescue.
This one's a little more modern. Why waste time at Urban Outfitters when you can just go hit the blue jean machine? And here's another good one. The anger release vending machine. Passive-aggressive anger release machine by Yarisel and Kublitz allows you to experience the most satisfying feeling when a piece of china breaks into a million pieces. All you have to do is insert a coin, and a piece of china will slowly move forwards, and then it'll fall and crash into the bottom of the machine.
I actually could use that at work. I think it would be nice. Instead of eating a piece of chocolate, I could just walk over and slowly watch
Watch something break.
China fall to its death.
But the best was.
But the winner goes to, envelope please, the replacement body parts vending machine.
Sad but true.
This was made to highlight the consequences of poor work safety practices. WorkSafe Victoria brought to life the terrifying nature of workplace incidents with the striking installation of vending machine designed to sell spare body parts, the Body-O-Matic.
So I did some research into different state aquariums around the country. Did you know that Snooty was the world's oldest captive manatee? He lived at Nature's Parker Manatee Aquarium in Bradenton, Florida, until he died in 2017 at the ripe old age of 69. So he was able to take advantage of some Social Security benefits for a few years and got free Ensure protein shakes. As far as I know, his tax returns are yet to be released to the general public, though.
Probably doing AARP.
Probably made more money than me. Yeah.
Anyway, manatees were sometimes mistaken by drunk sailors as mermaids. They were too busy looking at the tail, I suppose. I bet there were some surprised looks in their faces the next morning, being razzed by your buddies about not noticing her long whiskers. I did notice her breath was horrific.
That's beyond beer goggling. That's turpentine goggling.
But, the Georgia Aquarium also offers adult-only sleepovers, so you can literally sleep with the fishes.
Kind of creepy.
I get it for the kids, but the adult-only sounds a little bit creepy.
Yeah.
Slide on your silk PJs and grab a Chardonnay. Oh, look, the sea lions are spawning. Sea life porn is underrated. I'm getting wet just thinking about it.
Let's see what you did there. Yeah. Well, listen to this. The Tennessee Aquarium has a Twitter account that sends out tweets, and it's powered by an electric eel. His name is Miguel Watson. I like that he has a last name. Apparently, he generates enough electricity to trigger an insane amount of tweets, so they had to build like a electrical inhibitor to slow him down. He tweets things like pop, 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 meowsers, and kerblamaroni. Unsurprisingly, he really is into AC/DC. A pair of rockfish at the Vancouver Aquarium had to receive one prosthetic eye each to replace the ones they lost after cataract rupture. Apparently, the other fish saw the missing eye as weakness and would attack them. After a series of protests with picket signs that read, "Grow a pair," the city of Vancouver got tired of turning a blind eye to the problem and did something about it.
In 1935, a shark on display at an Australian aquarium vomited up a human arm.
Yikes.
This led to an extensive investigation that eventually uncovered a mini murder conspiracy, with bodies being dismembered and chucked into the surf. Witnesses at the aquarium testified that the shark would never have attacked an unarmed man.
Okay, we must be stopped. This song is called Violet Seizures. Okay, let's talk about Hum Nutrition.
Hum Nutrition is a company out of California. They have a lovely website where they talk about their products. You can read testimonials that other people have had. They have quizzes there, and they will recommend the products that fit whatever your needs, wants are. We are a little older, don't tell anyone, and we tend to focus on things that help our metabolism and, useful look. Love their gummies. They're so easy to take. They're tasty. This is the Pro ACV gummies, or apple cider gummies. No need to take that horrible, nasty apple cider shot to help your metabolism along. It's right here. We have the celery juice fiber gummies. These also help with metabolism and also detoxification. Who doesn't need a little of that on the weekends? I also take red carpet. This helps with your hair and your skin being bright and shiny and full. I would recommend these to anyone who has concerns, especially thinning hair.
I can't do red carpet. I just do purple throw rug.
If you're also with every purchase, they let you get little samples. So you can try before you buy. This is a daily cleanse pill that you can take. And this is called Big Chill if you need help with stress relief or focus. I haven't tried this one yet. But so you can always try before you buy, see if you like it. Use our link. It will save you off your first order, and these ship right to your home.
Very good. It's time for Wax of Contrition. But first, as I mentioned, I found an old review for this album. This is a cherry copy, by the way. Bad Company's Burning Sky. Apparently, as a teenager, I didn't like it very much. So here's the review I wrote. Bad Company stumbles their way through 11 new songs, begging the question, is Simon Kirk's goal to put us all to sleep? Gone are the snappy production values of the debut or Straight Shooter, these dull blues romps flirting unsuccessfully with Southern boogie, funk, and soul. It's not the slow pace that's the problem. Something like Water would be a masterpiece in the hands of someone like Paul Kossoff, but Mick Ralphs has none of that profound, spellbinding six-string power. This thing wouldn't stand a chance without Paul Rodgers, but even he sounds like he's going through the motions in the sludgy doo-wop of Everything I Need. Why do we have to settle for frumpy ass rock like this? Punk was invented to slay dumb, fat dinosaur rock like this. All the more reason why true masters like Thin Lizzy and Blue Oyster Cult continue to release one brilliant album after another, while we are tortured by shit like this that will likely be triple platinum by next Thursday. Fuck me, where's the Tylenol? In honor of that review, this is Burning Sky. Okay. Sadly, this is not the Bad Company hour. Our wax
Bad Company bashing hour.
Our wax of contrition this week is this solid gold biggie. Sacrileges Beyond the Realms of Madness from 1985. If you're into shit like Bolt Thrower, you should already know this record. Weirdly, I did a review of one of my favorite Attitude Adjustment albums, and I mentioned that I thought Sacrilege BC was a crap band. I got some shit for it from Chris from Attitude Adjustment, weirdly. But the reason why is because for me, there is only one Sacrilege, this band. And from the same town that brought us Sabbath and Priest, Birmingham, West Midlands, UK, came Sacrilege UK, formed from members of bands with colorful monikers like Innocent Victims, War Wound, and the Varukers. The four-piece came together in '84 and quickly produced a couple of demos.
Despite an obvious love of Discharge, the combination of Damian Thompson's restless riffing style and Tam's hard screamed yet melodic vocals made for a sound that stood out from their bristle mohawk UK crust contemporaries. Their 1985 full-length took only 5 days to record, and the band's powerful sound is bolstered by engineer Mike Ivory, who had worked with up-and-comers like Concrete Socks and Heresy. The album is a treasure, forward-thinking. The band's tight as fuck, no concern with choruses. This is 26 minutes of riffy, raw metal hell, and it's been issued by impressive labels like Pussmort and Relapse, among several others over the years.
I'm going to try to dig up. I was so in love with her in the 80s with Tam. They had her picture on a couple different Kerrang articles. I'll try to put a picture up of it. Yeah. She was the love of my life for a while there. Yeah. Anyway, but let's play a song.
This is Shadow from Mordor.
Yay, Tolkien. Okay, getting back to Sacrilege. Every cut on this thing cycles through churning riff excursions, some nods to D-Beat, but the similarities to Slayer's Hell Awaits are much more prevalent, even if it's by happenstance. Tam's vocal attack is exactly that, a ballsy metal filibuster screamed over the din at varying intervals. The band had no concern for preconceived punk or metal norms. For example, the closing irony doesn't even get on with the vocals for the first 3 minutes. Excellent stuff, really, especially for 1985. Most of your favorite thrash albums hadn't been released yet.
This particular issue includes 3 songs from the band's 1986 demo, as well as live versions of The Closing Irony and several others. A real treat considering that Sacrilege didn't play a lot of live shows, maybe 20, and in Europe only. Plus, there's a new song recorded in 2015, Dig Your Own Grave, that shows speed and power haven't dulled at all with age. Pam sounds fantastic, shrieking and barking like a seasoned pro. The label Back on Black specializes in reissues, and their catalog is super impressive, giving makeovers to classics from bands like Witchfinder General, Onslaught, and Extreme Noise Terror, among others. Lose yourself in the brutal, beautiful fury of Sacrilege. All right, let's play a song. This is Lifeline.
Okay, you want to introduce the interview?
This is our interview with TJ. We really enjoyed it. This album,
He's a complete Renaissance man.
I forgot to ask him if he has a beard, man.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, we really
A lot of hair on that man.
really enjoy this band. Got a lot of enjoyment about finding more about the making of this album and why he wears usually just shorts.
Okay, take it away.
Great seeing you again. I don't know if you remember us briefly from Hell on the Harbor.
We kind of accosted you when you were coming up to the merch table after your show.
Was it me?
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
you. Yeah, because I laid this big spiel on you about how when Reed Mullen died, I thought, how great it was we still have a TJ Childers. And it seemed like it was just a little much for you just coming off the show. So sorry about that.
Played.
No. Now that you're saying the thing about Reed, I remember.
Mhm.
Did I tell you my Reed story?
No, it'd be great.
We played this fest in Lexington, Kentucky in 2013, I believe it was. I can't remember the name of the fest. But COC headlined. It was it Scion? Anyway, COC headline, and we didn't get to see him, but I wound up hanging out with Reed Riley, who's in Rewake.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
And so I was just walking around, and I was pretty drunk, and they were in a TGI Fridays at the bottom of a hotel, and I just looked in and saw him. I was like, there's Reed Riley. He's sitting with Reed Mullen. So I walked up to him. It's like, Reed Riley, what's going on, man? He's like, hey, DJ, what's going on? This is Reed Mullen. And Reed was kind of drunk. And he sort of had to sit down and goes, hey, I'm Reed. And stuck his hand out. I was like, hey, man, I'm TJ. And I bullshit with Reed Riley for a second. And then Reed would smack Reed Mullen, and he'd wake up and flip his hair up again, his blonde hair. And he'd go, hey, man, I'm Reed. And I go, hey, I'm still TJ. And that happened.
It sounds like he was having a good time. Yeah.
So really loves the new album.
Great.
Gosh, we've been spinning it a lot here and really absorbing it. It takes a while. I want to say, it was great on the first listen, but every time through you discover a little bit more.
Yeah.
So we really love it. But way back at the beginning, how did you come up with that Inner Armor moniker, like, in times of war?
Honestly, it was just a placeholder at first because we couldn't decide on a band name.
Okay. Yeah.
And somebody, it's been lost in the sands of time as to who actually came up with it. But somebody just said, what about Inter Arma? And we were like, yeah, that sounds weird enough and cool enough to hold us out for like 2 or 3 shows until we figure out what we actually want to call the fucking band. And here we are 18 years later, and it's still Inter Arma.
It's a great name though, because it doesn't pigeonhole you into a certain type of music. You know what I mean? It could be anything. And I like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely one of those cases of, I think the band makes the name Unfortunately, we don't have a super cool name like Motorhead or Discharge or something.
Right,
But
exactly.
I mean, honestly, fuck for the. Can I curse?
Mhm.
Yes.
We
Okay,
encourage it, actually.
cool. Fuck yeah. Uh, uh, it's sort of a fitting name for everything that's been going on, the last couple of years, because it's part of a longer Latin phrase that means in the time of war, laws will be silent. So there you go.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, it feels like we've gone off the deep end there,
It really
again.
does.
It's just like you can't believe what in the world it's happening. It's like this is 2024. This is not
Well, and
medieval.
seeing like on social media, seeing the speed of the attacks is something that I never thought I'd, you know, you don't realize how overwhelming some of these, like when these places are attacked, it's incredible. I mean, just yeah.
Well, I mean, and that's the I have to say the blessing side of social media is, that isn't something that would have happened even in the Iraq war. There wasn't this immediacy with all the coverage of everything that was going on. You didn't see things happening almost literally in real time.
Yeah.
And it sheds not just a light, a fucking a spotlight on how fucked up everything that's going on is in the world. And people are justified in their outrage for all of it, because they can literally just pick up their phone and see exactly what the hell's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So if social media is good for anything, that's one good thing.
Yeah, that's true.
You get to hear it from the people.
It's one thing to read a headline that says, that people were bombed, but to actually have it come through on your phone and you see the devastation immediately, that's really something. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So you guys have had a pretty stable lineup. The only one that seems like it's jockeyed around a lot is bass player.
Yeah.
So why do you think that was, in your opinion? And have you finally found your match with Joel Moore?
Well, to go way back on that question, even when I was a little kid in my dad's cover band, it was always the fucking bass player. I mean, we went through them like a toddler goes through underwear. It was just
that's great. Yeah.
nonstop. Fucking, so all through my musical life, I've always had problems with the bass player. I don't know why that is, but getting Joel in the band was the best thing that could have happened to us at that moment, because he's an unbelievable musician. He speaks the language. I don't have to tell him, okay, play on the first fret. I can say, this is a D. This is a G. The song's in the key of E minor, and he knows where to go and what to do. And
that's great, man.
And on top of that, he's technically a great musician. He's a killer ripping guitar player. He's a great songwriter. He has his own solo shit that is like this weirdo avant-garde black metal thing that he's written that's fucking amazing. And he's a killer engineer. He does front of house for bands. He records records. So even him being able to speak that language, I mean, the story of us recording drums for the record is a whole other fucking saga. We walked into the studio, and for very, very long story short, it looked like the coolest episode of Hoarders, where there's hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of musical equipment just scattered all around. But Joel, having experience in studios, was able to work with our guy Mikey, who recorded the record, and was like, okay, let's do this, and really get things happening. If Joel hadn't have been there, I don't know that we would have made it through that portion of the session. We may have had to call a fucking audible. So having Joel has just been a godsend, to say the very least.
That's great.
It's weird with me, like having talked to a couple different bassists. If they only play bass, they're very introverted. If they do a lot of different things, then they're not. It's the weirdest phenomenon.
We've noticed that. Yeah.
I mean, I could think of other musicians and even people in non-musical fields who really kind of only do one thing, and they're usually kind of a little bit more inward, introverted type of people. So it must be some theory going on there with that.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to ask you, so you guys were together for several years before you put out Sundown. Do you have any fond memories of those early days, or what are some cool memories of those early Green days that you can remember?
Oh man, there's a lot, lot of memories that I don't remember. I mean, we there was a couple different kind of DIY venues around Richmond, and we were like the house band at a couple of those places.
Okay.
Like, there's a place called Nara Sushi. It was literally a sushi joint, and they had punk shows there and metal shows, and I bet we played there 50 times. Mike has all this shit, our vocalist, written down somewhere.
Okay.
And I bet we played there 59. Strange Matter, the venue that closed down a couple of times, which that goes way down further into the future. We played there 29 times. But yeah, I mean, playing house shows, playing in basements, touring in our old 77 Ford Econoline van with the some of the floors were rusted out.
Yeah. You're doing the Rollins, yeah, getting the band. Yeah.
Doing early tours and that shit, and sleep. I mean, we played in Phil. I think the first time we played in Philadelphia, we got paid in like with like $7 and change and a broken microphone. It's like, here, this is all we have for you tonight.
Oh my God.
Right, but you're like, we got money. People paid us to hear our music. Like, there's still pride. You know what I mean? Might not be a lot of money. Yeah.
$7 will go get us a couple 40s or something, I guess.
Well, what was it? How did you guys end up moving to Relapse? Like, your first record was an indie, and then like, how did they come to discover you? Was that a was there a story to that, or they just kind of come to a show, or what?
Well, we had already recorded Sky Burial, and we were definitely touring our asses off, and we kind of stepped it up at that point. We'd done a couple full US tours and played a lot of shows, and played up in Philadelphia and New York a bunch. And I think there was a little bit of a buzz around us, and then somebody passed the record off to somebody at Relapse, and they got in touch with us and they're like, hey, we would love to work with you, and the rest is history.
Yeah, that's the label to be on for, I mean, that for that time, especially. I mean, the early 2000s, it seemed like every cool band was on Relapse. I mean, it was just one after another.
I didn't even really know much about underground music, and I heard Mastodon and ordered Leviathan from Relapse, and then got, when they used to send the Resound magazines, back in the early 2000s, got that.
Oh, yeah.
And then found out about all these other bands. And I didn't even really know about underground music at that time. I'd seen Mastodon on MTV2. It's like, this is cool, I want this record. And that was, back when you had to make a lot of concerted effort to get a fucking album or CD.
Yeah, so I was thinking, Richmond doesn't jump to mind as like a hotbed of like, extreme music. But then, I mean, you got Guar, you got Municipal Waste, Lamb of God. Who are kind of your favorite Richmond-based bands that you could think of?
Well, my favorite Richmond band that's been my favorite Richmond band for quite a long time is Battlemaster. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of them. They're like the best band that no one seems to know about. Then before that, God, I remember seeing Alabama Thunder Pussy up around Northern Virginia years ago, and being floored by them.
Yeah.
They were actually opening up for the Misfits.
Okay. Yeah.
And I remember standing right in front of them and being like, who are all these guys with long hair and beards? And then they started playing, and there's this heavy Southern rock. I was like, oh, this is fucking cool.
Yeah, if you name your band Alabama Thunder Pussy, you got to bring it. I mean, you can't half-ass that. You
You
know,
definitely not fuck around if you name your band something that over the top.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah. You were in Windhand for like for just a brief time, right? You played bass for Windhand for a while.
I, I
Why was
Windhand.
that?
I was I was never officially in Windhand. I filled in on
Okay,
bass for 2 shows, filled
okay,
in filled in on drums for a show,
okay.
and then I played I played some synth on an EP they put out a long time ago. And
They're a good band. I always like them. They're a good band. Yeah.
yeah, I've known those guys for a very long time.
So I was listening. I finally got a chance to kind of crack open Garber Days Revisited. So I'm sure that was kind of everybody kind of did like a pandemic driven products. But how did you pick what you wanted to do? Because you got Cro-Mags on there, you got Prince on there, you got Ministry, Scarecrow. So, and it looks like you wanted to include a wide group. Did you all just kind of pick or?
That's exactly it. To we wanted to be sort of a wide ranging variety of tunes that represented not only what we sound like and what bands and artists that are influences to us, but some other things that you may not realize that we're into, i.e., the Tom Petty tune and
Yeah.
the Prince tune, and some of those songs were songs that we'd already covered in the past because we've always done, well, not always, but here and there we've done cover sets for different reasons, whether it was like a benefit show or whatever, and that's ranged from like old school punk rock covers to we'd actually covered March of the Pigs a few years before we ever recorded it. So it was just but those reasons.
Do you ever still include any in a set list currently, or does anyone ask you for any of them?
Well, when we played Roadburn a couple weeks ago, we did a whole Neil Young cover set.
Oh,
So
wow.
not only did we do Southern Man and we did Ohio, which we recorded for something a couple years ago, we learned 6 or 7 more songs and sort of reworked them all to sound a little bit more like us, but still
Yeah.
like Neil Young.
Yeah, that Roadburn Festival looked amazing. I was checking out that lineup today. I mean, you had everybody from Duel to Loud,
Yeah.
it was crazy.
Yeah.
Did you get to check
Health?
out anybody? Health, yeah.
I only got to check out a couple other bands because if you're playing, it's a little bit harder to be moving around. But I got to see Thanafaxif, they put out one of my favorite records of the last 10 years last year. And who else did I got? It was such a blur. I can't even remember now. I got to see a little bit of Couch Slut. There's more. I'm fucking blanking right now.
I know it's hard. You know, we when we go to shows, like we have MDF this weekend, and we've learned to just go with the flow because it's like a military operation with the bands. You know, it's they got to get on, they got to get off. You know, so
Yeah, I feel like in a situation like that where there are multiple stages, the best tactic is to just maybe each day pick out 2, maybe 3 bands that you'll be able to catch that aren't overlapping or whatever,
right,
and
right,
then yeah, it's kind of whatever you catch in between. Then
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, this was a little bit better set up. Like Hell in the Harbor, I hated because they had overlapping a lot. And sometimes we'd be like, all right, we're doing 20 minutes of this, but I want to see the end of this. Some of that you had to kind of pick and choose. But this year, it's pretty well set up because there's 2 outside stages and they go off literally as one end. So you really don't have to
Yeah.
miss. So I like that better.
yeah, definitely.
yeah, it worked out well.
So how are the crowds in the Netherlands?
Fucking amazing.
That's great.
I mean, all 3 of the shows we played were packed, and I mean, if you guys have never been to Roadburn, you should 100% go. I mean,
It's on our list to go. We really want to go. Yeah.
yeah, make the trek, make the pilgrimage. It's the best heavy music festival in the world. It's the way it's curated, the way it's run, the way they treat the artists, the way they even just hold they it's I feel like it's one of the few fests, and I don't mean to talk shit about other fests. Some other fests I do mean to talk shit about, but the way they put the art above fucking commerce,
Yeah.
because they want bands to come do weird, crazy, off the wall shit. I mean, they had us play a fucking Neil Young cover set, for
Right.
God's sake. I mean, they had Blood Incantation play their synth record. I can't remember the name of it right
the
now.
krautrock thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
I know
and
what you're talking about,
yeah, they just have they encourage bands to come get outside of their comfort zone, so to speak. And I mean, that's, to me, that's just the shit. I would, as much as I want to see a band play a greatest hit set, which we did. Seeing a band do something really off the wall, I think, is just super cool.
So I really loved how you juxtapose kind of like light and dark, soft and heavy. What were your biggest influences on bringing that style? Although a lot of times if I'm reviewing another band, I say they play like you. So maybe it's coming from you.
There's not really any specific bands, I would say, that influence us to do that sort of thing. It's just always kind of been there, and I think that's due to the fact that we have quieter, more melodic songs, and we have the crazier, faster death metal, black metal type of songs. And also, I mean, a lot of the best songs in general, especially if you're talking about, heavy metal, big epic, I hate that term when it's used that way, but grandiose type of songs, it's more, takes you on more of a ride if there are dynamics. If there are dynamics and it crescendos up to a thing and then maybe even drops back down and then builds back up again to really, blast off. It just makes for a much more interesting listen. So that's part of the reason why. That, and I mean, I guess subconsciously we are, and I would say I in particular am influenced by the records where there's lots of contrast. Even like the one that comes to mind is Houses the Holy. It starts out dink 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 dink, and then goes into Rain Song, and it's kind of all over the place, and even within those songs there's light and shade. So yeah,
I remember I was trying to turn a friend of mine on to Inter Arma earlier on. It was several years ago, and I described it. I said it's like those Neurosis albums, except you won't want to kill yourself after the song's over. Because I mean, seeing Neurosis in like the 90s, it was like so great, but we walked out of there and I was just like, I gotta find something happy here. I mean, I've just been, misery for 3 hours,
I mean, I only got to see him. I saw him twice now that I'm thinking about it. And I didn't feel sad, but they were definitely draining. Like you felt,
even that's a draining,
there,
right? Yeah.
Even though you're just standing there watching them, it's like you feel like, man, I need to maybe like go take a nap or something right now. I'm tired.
Yeah. Definitely an experience. Yeah.
Maybe a cup of coffee after that. I don't know.
Yeah.
So for New Heaven, it seems like such an interesting title for kind of what is like darker material. How did the title come about? And I was kind of curious. I couldn't quite get my head around what New Heaven would mean.
Well, it it started out as a joke. We were talking about Death Heaven and how this was all in jest about how they are very popular now, and we toured with them back in the day, and like, well, they're never going to take us on tour again. They're the new Death Heaven. It's the New Heaven.
Yeah.
And,
okay, got it. Yeah.
And then Mike just wrote that down and stuck with it, and then it wound up becoming a song. And that title was chosen because this record is a bit of a pivot for us, I would say. Even though all the records are kind of a pivot, but we definitely focus more on trying to write more concise songs this time around. And so we did feel like it was something kind of fresh. And so the title New Heaven just made sense in that regard, but also in the regard of not to harp on it too much, but the world's kind of in a fucked up dark place right now. And we've always this record, especially because of everything that's going on, there's sort of an underlying message of, yeah, things are shitty, but if we stick together and persevere and try to get through all the bullshit, we think things can be better, and try to shine light on the positive. And so that was the other kind of half of it. It's just, yeah, things are bad, but things will get better. They have to. Yeah, you have to have hope. You have to have something to hang on to, and hopefully we'll get to the new heaven.
Yeah, when we first listened to that song, I was like, did you hit Demolic?
Yeah, the band, the band Demolic from Finland, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that first song, it sounds like Demolic to me. It's got that. I mean, it didn't have like a paragraph for a title, like the monster that lived under the, all that. But as soon as I heard it, I was like, oh my God, they're channeling Demolic. This is great. Yeah.
It's funny. Everyone I talk to seems to hear a different band in that song in particular.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. I talked to a guy yesterday, and he said it sounded like Converge.
Okay.
And at first I was like, huh? And then I thought about it, I was like, yeah, I guess like some of their weird, kind of more off the wall, noisier things they do, I could see Converge in there. And then other people have said it sounds like Gorguts. Other people have said it sounds like Thanafaxis. Other people have said it sounds like Morbid Angel, which I'll take all those.
Yeah, they're all good bands. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'll take any of that.
Yeah, that's such a crazy dissonant riff.
It's the dissonance and then the
Yeah.
way your drums come in, and then he's so growly. That's what made me think of Demolic. So, yeah.
That riff was.
I remember I interviewed Jake Bannon from Converge years ago when they first signed to, what was it? What's that label? It was like a hardcore label. Anyway, they signed to some like punk rock label, and I was like,
Epitaph.
Epitaph. I was like, you're done. You're done. You're going to sound like Dropkick Murphys now. Like, I was young and I was really concerned.
I remember a lot of people saying that when they signed to Epitaph.
Yeah.
And then they put out some of the fucking heaviest records they ever put out.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So yeah, but that was me. I was like, how can you sign to this label? Yeah. So he was like, it's going to be heavy. Don't worry.
I definitely think that was one of my favorites, though. But like you said, there's such a variety here. But I think The Children That the Bombs Overlooked was just a really interesting take, not to focus on the devastation, but who lived. Was this inspired by any particular event or just general shit going on? And who had the idea to kind of take it from that survivor's guilt feeling?
Well, that's all Mike, as all the lyrics are. And that's another song that we've gotten a lot of questions about because of everything that started to happen on October 7th. And that song was written before that, even though it's pretty much about that. But it's just an anti-war, anti-genocide song in particular. And if anything, it probably when he was writing those lyrics was probably speaking more about Ukraine and other things that were going on pre all the Gaza Strip stuff. So yeah.
How do you guys put songs together? Do you jam a lot, or does everybody have stuff that is kind of on their hard drive and then you put it together? Like, how do you guys put songs together?
Yeah. Any of us will bring in a riff or an idea. I mean, okay, perfect example, Children the Bombs Overlooked. I came up with those drum parts first.
Aha, I was right.
Which that doesn't usually happen. Usually I'll come up with the guitar part. Like I came up with the riffs in New Heaven, but in that instance, I was fucking around by myself and I was playing those patterns. And I was like, oh, they kind of like, there's a dichotomy, but there's also a continuity between the two things. It's sort of like a polyrhythmic shift that happens. I think
Right.
this is cool. So I had those things, and then I think I came up with the riff over top, but then also thought that the idea of doing the super like low octave harmonies sound really like fucked up and demented over top of it. So and then we just would jam on that, and then the other parts kind of just fell into place as we jammed on it. And that's how really all the songs are written. Just an idea that somebody brings in, we'll jam on it, see how it feels, where it takes us, and then if it's cool and we're vibing on it, then we'll add a verse, we'll add a bridge, chorus, whatever, and just mold it from there essentially.
When you guys aren't on tour, how often do you get together to jam? Is it like a regular thing, or?
It's pretty regular. Certainly if we're in between two tours and there's only like a week or two or whatever
Right.
to be off,
Obviously, yeah.
we don't really worry too much about rehearsing then. But if we're writing, or we really are buckling down, like before Roadburn, we were working on playing the whole record and then also all those Neil Young songs. So we were rehearsing at least 2 or 3 days a week then.
Yeah.
And if we're writing, we'll usually do like 2 or 3 days a week as well. So usually at least 2 days a week.
I think one of my other favorite takeaways from this album was Concrete Cliffs. Great video, by the way. I don't know who came up with all those ideas. The guy in the box, kind of in the hole. I said, that's how I feel at work. So for that I guess the Concrete Cliffs is like a city or skyscrapers. I wasn't sure kind of where your themes were on that.
Yeah, I mean, you could almost literally define it, cliffs made of concrete. Yeah, and the same idea kind of fell in with the video as well. Just photos of this was a word that I didn't even know existed. I thought it was just something that 15-year-old boys said. Brutalist construction, brutalist architecture, rather.
Okay.
Photos of that, or videos of that, and then the song itself is, I don't want to say it's about suicide. If anything, it's more of again an anti-suicide song, and it's saying, hey, we know that people feel this way. We also feel this way, so it's gonna, again, things will be better.
Yeah, I really got that feeling. And who ended up having to go down in the hole?
That was Mike. He was really stoked about having to do that. Let me tell you. He was over the moon about having to climb down into a big old fucking wooden box.
I was gonna say, did he like draw the shortest straw or something? I mean, yeah.
Yeah, he drew the shortest straw when he decided to be the standalone vocalist in the band.
Okay, there you go. Right. Yeah, it was a long time ago that he just, All right, well, we play a game on the show, so hopefully you're down with the game. So it's called Blaspheming Monikers, okay? So here's how it works. I have 5 band names in front of me. One of them I made up. So you're going to try to guess which one of these is not a real band, okay?
All right.
Okay. Blood Opera, Blood Stronghold, Blood Valley, Blood Expectoration, and Blood Ritual.
All right, Blood Ritual I've heard of. None of the others I've ever heard of, but I'm just going to take a wild guess.
Okay.
Blood Valley.
Very good. Very
Ding,
good.
ding.
You got it right out of the blocks.
That was total fucking luck.
Yeah, all the other ones are real. Blood opera, blood stranglehold, and blood expectoration. So yeah,
I was
Right.
gonna guess
very
that
good.
one at first, but then I was like, that I've never even heard that fucking word before, and I love 50 Cent words, so it's
Yeah,
probably a real band.
yeah, yeah. No, that was very good. Yeah, yeah, you never know. Some of these bands, I look them up on Metal Archives, and I'm like, God, did you take 5 minutes to come up with a name? I mean, good Lord.
That's the long running joke of just combining goat, skull,
Goat,
blood,
blood, right? Yeah,
whatever.
death. Uh,
Yeah, whatever other stupid fucking buzzword you can think of.
Um, so going back with your drum line is so strong and the children is a bomb overlooked and it's so commanding. Did you have formal training or are you self-taught?
I never had formal training, but my dad showed me, even though he's a guitar player, he showed me some basics of drums when I was 5, something like that.
mhm.
But other than that, I never took real lessons. I never learned rudiments or even like really good technique. I did sort of teach. I've taught myself some rudiments. I know like 4, and I went in my 20s when I got more serious about playing metal, and I just wanted to get faster with double bass in my hands and everything. I started to focus more on technique, but I wish I would have taken some lessons when I was younger. It probably would have sped things up a little bit for me, but I got into skateboarding I still skate, but and then I started playing guitar when I was 13. So drums actually kind of fell by the wayside for a couple years in my teens, and the guitar took over. So,
Well, I think you're like the next generation, but who were some of the drummers that you say, wow, I can't play that shit? Like, who are some of your heroes?
um, well, my heroes, it's my big 3. I always say is John Bonham, Tommy Aldridge, and Gene Hoglan.
Oh,
But luckily I can play most of that stuff at this point. But shit, I go on Instagram and just see kids playing all kinds of shit that I'll never be able to play.
it's
And
crazy, isn't it? I know. Yeah.
yeah, but I'll
Yeah.
also I kind of, and I don't mean to talk shit, but it's with any instrument, you kind of hit a glass ceiling with speed where it starts to sound not cool after it's going so fast. Like, it's cool that you can play that fast, and it's a nice tool to have in the tool belt, but I'd rather just hear a quick flurry of things, of notes, as opposed to like 5 minutes of 128th notes.
Yeah, yeah.
It just, I don't know. It like, even drummers who can play like 280 beats per minute, like, it doesn't really sound cool. It kind of sounds goofy to me. But I'm old, so whatever.
I feel the same way though. Sometimes I'm like, is that a drum machine? I don't know.
Yeah.
That's how nuts.
We had John Paul from Clutch on the show, and we talked about that movie Whiplash, and he actually had a guy like that taught him drums.
Really?
He said
I
he
mean,
held a gun to his head and stuff. I mean, yeah, I mean it's on the show. I mean, it's worth watching, and he had some great stories. They opened for Sepultura on the what was it, the not Beneath the Remains, but one of their incredible tours with Cavalera, and he
yeah,
talks about that. Yeah, I mean
I'll
he's
have to check
he's
that
he's
out.
really something. John Paul from Clutch is a great drummer. Yeah,
I love his playing, and he's
yeah,
a great example of, and I talk about this all the fucking time, of a drummer who understands the pocket and understands how to play for a song and isn't worried about blasting
right,
and
right.
double bass
Speed
the
drummer.
entire fucking time.
Has your kit always remained primarily the same? I mean, I know you don't have chimes and ridiculous stuff.
I
The
got some ridiculous.
gong.
I have a gong,
Do you? Okay, all right.
yeah, and I have rototoms.
Okay.
Uh, it's kind of changed actually. When I when I was 7 or 8, my dad pretty much made me a drum set that he just compiled out of other drum kits and stripped them all and stained them so they all looked about the same. And I had 1, 2, 3, 6, 8. I had a 9-piece kit when I was a little kid. And then I got into punk and I stripped it down to a 4. And then I got back into a metal band and it was a 6-piece. And then I lost one, or it was a 7-piece, and I lost one tom. So it's been the configuration it's been now for probably 15 years. But it has changed over the years.
Have you always played shirtless? Is that like a uniform for you? Did you get hot?
No, it wasn't really until we started to really tour. People laugh about it all the time. It's more of a hygiene issue because I'm not going to bring like a gigantic suitcase of clothes with me on tour. So the solution to that is I have a pair of shorts that I play in every night because I fucking sweat so much when I play.
Yeah. You know, I get it. Yeah. All the pictures you see of like Alex Van Halen back in the day, he's always just wearing just shorts. You know, it's just.
I mean, it is kind of a classic look. And, you know, you think about Alex Van Halen and Terry Bozzio and probably even, old Tommy Aldridge when he's with Ozzy, he's back there fucking wailing and he's got like little booty shorts on.
And Matt Pike, forever shirtless.
That's right.
Forever.
He's still shirtless.
Yeah, definitely.
I saw them 2 weeks ago. They were fucking fantastic. Cody's playing drums for him now. That's my guy.
Yeah.
I didn't think Des Kenzel could ever be replaced. I was shocked. God, the new guy's so good.
I mean, were you a Big Business fan before he joined High on Fire?
I like Big Business, yeah, but I saw High on Fire with Des so many times, and those drums were kind of like your drumming. It just kind of pulled me in. It was such a signature sound, and I don't know how he nailed it so well. It's great. I mean, yeah.
I mean, I love Des too. And when he left, I was like, those are some pretty fucking big shoes to fill.
Big deal. Yeah.
And I never even thought of Cody being the guy, but once it was announced that he was the guy, I thought that makes perfect fucking sense because Cody is another perfect guy who like knows the pocket, but also like writes riffs on the drum set. He has so many, like, I'm a huge Big Business fan, and he has so many drum beats in their songs that are like I remember them very clearly and succinctly.
Yeah, I really like Come As the Storm. It's good.
It turned out great.
I'm always a little nervous, but they stayed true. They held on.
It's really good.
Like you guys, I was like, oh, yay, it's back. It's back. I even like the little kind of departures, you know, that you did on like Gardens in the Dark and Forest Road Service Blues, because it almost sounds like it's a grunge song that's slowed down a little bit. I really liked the departure there. It was neat.
Thank you. Yeah, that was going back to Neil Young. I mean, it's kind of our little tip of the hat to Neil, a very sad acoustic song in the key of A minor. It doesn't get more Neil Young than that.
Yeah. Another thing I love about you guys is that like your second and third albums, you kind of toyed with Floyd a little bit, but you made it through. Like there's some bands that when they go down the Floyd route, they never come back. Like Queensryche and Hammers of Misfortune got kind of sidetracked for a while. But you guys, you know, you always kept the heavy. It's great. You know, so.
Yeah, I mean, we're still if you have to say that we're one genre of music, you know, gun to my head, like John Paul's drum teacher.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
We're still a death metal band, so we're always gonna come back to the heavier side of things. But yeah, I know what you mean. There's certain bands who have kind of gone down the melodic route and they never really come back. It's like, oh, see you later.
Exactly. Yeah. So
yeah, I like the fact that you have both. You know, and the cover is excellent for this. It almost looks like he's on the surface of the moon with the Aurora Borealis.
Yeah, how did you come across the artwork for this one? Like,
so we met a guy who's a fan of the band. His name is Louis Palou, and turns out that he is a pretty big time photographer. And Mike was actually looking through his portfolio on his website and found that photo and said, I think this would be perfect for the album cover. And we got in touch with him and he agreed to let us use it. And that's pretty much how it went down. And that's why if you buy a copy of the vinyl, there's nothing else on the cover. It doesn't say Inter Arma New Heaven on the cover, because we wanted to treat it like a piece of art, because it is art by an actual artist. I mean, the guy, he's a member of the Guggenheim Association, and he's shot photographs in Guantanamo Bay and all these fucking crazy places.
Oh, wow.
And so we wanted to really treat it as a piece of art.
Really, it's effective. I think it somehow captures kind of that feeling of darkness, but the light, it's just perfect.
Yeah.
So what's coming up next for you guys? Now that you're recovered from road burn?
Right.
We have a record release show here in Richmond on June 7th. And then like the first week or so of July, we start, it's about a month-long run with Paul Bearer. And we're
Oh, wow.
doing like 2/3 of the United States or something like that. And then we have a little bit of time off playing. I think we're going to play a couple shows here and there, but then the next big thing is we're going to Europe in the fall, and we leave in October. And then I think we're still kind of working out all the details on that, but I think we're going to be gone for about a month as well for that one.
Do you get a good response in Europe? The crowds are good.
Yeah. We love touring Europe, and it's funny touring over there because hip hop never really took over the way it took over here in the United States. So rock and roll and just heavy metal and guitar based music in general never really went away there. So there's still a scene there, and just the fests in Europe. Most people that they're always fucking crazy. So yeah, the response is great. The tours are great over there. We love touring over there.
And we heard that from Riot 5 about Japan, that it's the same way. And, rock and roll is king there. That's what they're about. And it's just the fans are just rabid.
Yeah. We haven't been to Japan yet, but that's definitely someplace we want to go. A buddy of mine who's in a pretty kind of legendary grindcore band called Suppression here in town. They just toured Japan and a bunch of other Asian countries, and it looks and sounds like it was the fucking greatest time ever.
Yeah.
And kids, just like you said, kids are fucking rabid, just can't get enough of it.
Yep.
Awesome.
Understood. Yeah.
Well, we hope to catch you back this way in Baltimore at some point.
Yeah.
Whether it be another Hell in the Harbor or
Something adjacent.
We'll be back up there, if not this year, then definitely next year. We're overdue for a Baltimore show, like an actual Inter Arma Baltimore show, not just playing a fest.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Well, keep doing what you're doing. We're big fanboys and fangirls here, so keep doing what you're doing.
And thank everyone for this album. It's amazing.
It's great. Yeah.
I will, and thank y'all.
The sounds of decay!
All right, this is Sounds of Decay 1, Gate Creeper with Dark Superstition. The deserts of Arizona might not seem at first to be a typical inspirational dark landscape backdrop for death metal, but even deserts can have darkness. In this case, for this melodic 5-piece out of Arizona, it has even inspired the name of their third full-length, Dark Superstition. The Superstition Mountains are a rugged, forbidding range that looms 6,000 feet above the Mesa Desert, forged by ancient volcanic activity, cloaked in Gothic tales. Visitors of the range often report hearing rumblings from within the earth that sound like an underground storm is raging. Some Apaches believe underneath its craggy mound is a portal to hell, from at which times a wicked wind emanates, causing dust storms that befoul the air even as far as the Phoenix metropolitan area.
Gatecreeper has been honing their skills since 2013, also releasing 2 EPs and a handful of splits along with a live album. For this latest release, penning songs against the foreboding landscape about mysterious dark beings, vampires, war tanks, and dark comet omens. Dark Superstitions has more hooks than a thorn bush, so when Spotify slid it into my playlist, I was immediately snarled in their doom-tinged old-school death metal style, with distorted and melodic riffs erupting and spilling out and bubbling out like pouring vinegar on baking soda. Most of these 10 tracks pack a lot into their 3-minute runtimes. The one exception is the doom heavy closer, Tears Fall from the Sky, which clocks in at just under 6 minutes. Most of the songs are at a mid-chug doom death speed with the vocals of Chase H. Mason. My, he sounds very legal. I've employed the services of Chase H. Mason Esquire, and you've been served. Anyway, Chase Mason seething in a raspy guttural bark. In Dead Star, the drums of Matt Arabalo are a heavy lumber, with some double bass sprinkled in here and there. When he repeats several rollouts, it tees up the following triumphant melodic solo perfectly. Oblivion is in the same vein, but features the sinister bumpy bass line of Alex Brown, burbling away under the oscillating, rich, euphonious guitars of Israel Garza and Eric Wagner. There's a gripping breakdown before accelerating into a head-banging chug-out. I was already bobbing along with the synchronized headbanging of the shaggy noggins in this band, but Gatecreeper was just getting started.
The songwriting just seems to get better as the album goes on. Caught in the Treads has more of those repeating descending tone guitar gymnastics with heavy riffs underneath that you can really sink your teeth into. By the time you get to the hey, hey, hey chant, you can join in and raise your horns with the rest of the crowd. For a chilling aura and mistaken for dead, they shift into a higher gear, drop the top down, and see what the chassis has in the tank, with accelerating blast beats, guitar riffs flying up everywhere, singing together and then spinning apart with thrash accents. They really just throw in different elements in every song. Check out Superstition Vision for more stunning harmonies and a drum bass breakdown that clunks along in near cowbell fashion. I think my favorite is Black Curtain, with rising guitar harmonies as soon as that curtain parts. See what I did there? With a conquering air. The bass of Brown burbles with the rolls and plods of Arabella's drums, building the tension to dramatic effect as the guitar riffs swirl like leaves over top. Mason snarls like a summoner, gaze into the unknown, pry open the underworld, and your touch breaks through the boundaries of life and death. Legend has it that there are riches in a mine somewhere hidden in the Superstition Mountains. When finishing this album, Brett Etzby of Dismember came over one weekend to put a stamp of approval on Dark Superstition and even added a little bit of veteran tweaks. Add that to the great production by Kurt Ballou and the technical prowess of the band, and you feel the stars aligning. Gatecreeper may have just figuratively struck that gold.
Okay, this song is Black Curtain. Okay, Sounds of Decay 2 is Severe Torture's new album, Torn from the Jaws of Death. From the land of cycling, windmills, and very tall men comes album number 6 from the long-running old-school death metal moniker Severe Torture, a band we had the pleasure of seeing at MDF this year, and they ripped it up quite efficiently, if I do say so myself. These Dutchies have released albums on impressive labels like Hammerheart, Earache, and now this one represents their second for Seasons of Mist. The current lineup has been together for 6 years, following the addition of drummer Damien Carpentier, a likely reason this album moves so fluidly through hard-blasting percussion, husky, hard-bark vocals, and melodic guitar harmonies throughout the course of 40 minutes. Torn from the Jaws of Death is 10 songs, most doing their business in the 45-minute range. And with titles like Hog Tied in Rope and Tear All the Flesh of the Earth, it's doubtful that they're contemplating man's search for meaning. No, this is ripping, deftly executed bonanza of riffs and odes to senseless violence right up our alley.
A couple of spins from this disc and your neck will be sore for sure. Vocalist Dennis Schurz seems most comfortable in an old school grunt, but he does bust out some of the deicide high screams in spots, most notably in the mid-pace sections of Christ Immersion. The album is stacked with impressive guitar work from the tandem of Marvin Brasside and Thijs van Laarhoven,
Are we sure they're Dutch?
particularly in cuts like The Pinnacle of Suffering, the harmonies adding a touch of class to the whole affair. Personally, I like them best when Carpenter settles into a pure thrash groove, then snaps into double bass mode. The man is a machine, at times sounding like 3 drummers at once, even syncopating with the vocals here and there in the oppressive crusher, Those Who Wished Me Dead. Lots of hard pan riff goodies in that one. Cap it off with the totally badass art by the legendary Par Olofsson, and you will soon see that this disc needs to find its way into your collection. Stat. Catch them at the Brutal Assault Open Air Gathering in the Czech Republic and the Move Your Fucking Brain Extreme Fest in Barcelona this July. Summer's here, baby. May the torture never stop.
Okay, this song is Those Who Wished Me Dead. Okay, Sound of Decay 3 is Summoner Circle's new album, Cult.
Oslo, Gothenburg, Helsinki, Knoxville, Tennessee. Hey, don't knock it, because this 6-piece is from the land of Civil War landmarks and really good barbecue, and of one really crappy World Fair in 1982.
Okay.
But they have been slugging away with their own brand of occult-obsessed, doom-laced, epic black metal for nearly 10 years at this point. The simple titled Cult is their 4th full-length and their first on the blasphemous Swedish label Black Lion Records. It's a relatively short album at 33 minutes, but this band shows a happy talent for making a 5-minute song seem like a 9-minute epic, with orchestral swells, soaring clean apparatics, and witchy cackles from vocalist Blind, Joshua Winstead, and all manner of gothy instrumentation guaranteed to have you playing air guitar in your sarcophagus of choice.
The clean guitars and soaring clean vocals of Thirst of the Vulture occupy that rare cross-section of blackened and epic metal like those beloved Solstice records from the 90s. Yup, it's that good. The ticking double bass and hooky orchestration of Shroud of Humanity makes for a huge sound, and Winstead's swirling, swooning, crooning, cackling vocal performance is superb, the track moving from riffy mid-pace to doomy crawl to stutter-stepping prog. The marvelously titled Irreverence of the Cross may be the strongest cut on the album, exploding out of the blocks with ridiculous speed from drummer Invictus, aka Brandon Hinais. But in seemingly no time, we're enjoying a hooky guitar solo and a very warm, buttery bass line from Ya Tagged, aka John Springer. Very forward-thinking stuff for the genre and a sound that challenges anything from Europe that we've heard this year. I've been absorbing the Cult album for a couple of weeks now, and the density of these arrangements are revealing some incredibly refreshing metal to me at this point. Grab your monk's robe and your Hamlet skull, pour yourself a stiff one. Cult is nothing short of a masterpiece. Let's play Thirst of the Vulture. Fuck me, where's the Tylenol?
You were very angry when you didn't like. I guess we probably saved
If
up all week.
If you saved your money I hated working at the bowling alley. You saved your money, you got on your bike and you rode across town to buy it, and then you got it home and Saxon suddenly sounded like Bon Jovi. You're pissed, like it wasn't like now where you just kind of scroll through. I mean, you actually worked for your metal back then. So anyway, we talked about vending machines.
We talked about the mysterious house at the end of our street and the weird going on. Also, the kid on the motorcycle that zips around all the time. Very weird.
I'm
that
not a
house.
fan. I'm not a fan. Who would have thought that an electric eel would send a lot of tweets out?
And who would have thought an adult sleepover with the fishes would be a good idea?
We talked about Tam Simpson. This has been the Snaggletooth Decay Extreme Music Podcast. Special thanks to TJ from Inter Arma for appearing on the show. Snaggletooth theme by Gustav Jord of Defleshed. Sounds of Decay theme by Steve Rathbone of Lair of the Minotaur. Season 3 artwork courtesy of KC Angel. Sounds of Decay bands this week. Check them out. Gate Creeper, Summoner Circle, and Severe Torture. All content 2024 with Snaggletooth Decay Extreme Music Podcast.
You're gonna have to help me. I bought all these books at the library and anything, but my fucking expectations are stuck.
This is the Snaggletooth Extreme Metal Podcast.